Hello everyone, Adam Loewen here, not doing a character or anything. Just got done watching the AVGN movie, and I'll explain what that is if you don't know. And I just wanted to deliver my thoughts because it's a very new movie and a lot of people are kind of curious about it. And I'm a big fan of AVGN. If you don't know, Angry Video Game Nerd, somewhere around 2006, got wildly popular making YouTube videos where he dies on old Nintendo games and screams at the game and ends up destroying it, and it's really funny. It's a really good show. They're maybe 10 minutes long or so, maybe shorter, sometimes longer, and they always are hilarious. It's really good. So I would recommend anybody watch that show. It's free on cinemassacre.com. But what's exciting is he's got the most enormously popular show. And it kind of created a whole genre of people reviewing things and old things that nobody cares about anymore and that you don't need the rights for, and just kind of recounting the experience of seeing the Ninja Turtles movie for the first time or playing Sonic the Hedgehog when it came out, and usually done in a really kind of funny, stupid kind of manner. It's like a whole genre. I do it. Junk Reviews is kind of me doing that. But there's a lot of examples of, successful and about a zillion examples of failures trying to rip off the whole James Rolfe thing. Mine would be one of the failures. Anyway, getting off topic here. So this was a moment in history because you basically have a YouTube channel, the movie, and James Rolfe was able to raise, I believe, don't quote me, I'm just remembering, I think that he raised $500,000, like $500,000, to make this movie just from fan donations. I mean, that's how big that fan base is and how supportive it is. And I'm a huge fan. I don't have any money to give, but so it's kind of amazing. And so the question is it any good? And I really wish that it was, and it just isn't. It's I don't think I laughed a single time. I wanted to like it. The problem, the effort was there, certainly, and he basically had to shut down his enormously successful website for a year or two to make this movie. I mean, he went over to LA and made a movie, and that's just not what these guys are good at. The issue is the writing, definitely the writing. They wrote this video right when he was becoming popular, and I just, at that time, I don't, these aren't guys that their chops are really at writing. Really funny character. I'm assuming that in his videos he does a lot of improving and kind of coming up with things on the fly, and that's clearly, evidently missing from the film, which has a very uptight, kind of awkward production feel. There's a lot of moments that, I mean, the practical effects are insane. There's so much work put in, but the outcome of that work is at times embarrassing. I mean, the moments where they're driving in the car and it's just so obviously fake, and it doesn't even come close. Things like that don't really bother me per se, but the whole thing has that kind of awkward feel. I mean, you have this basically nerdy web celebrity, who's just a lovable guy, but he's not an actor, and he's working with these actors that he's kind of recruited for this project, and the whole script basically focuses on these peripheral characters. I mean, there's very little actual Angry Video Game Nerd moments. I can't even think of one that I recall. Maybe there were a few, but really full of tropes and cliches. They get kind of funny sometimes, but for the most part not. I do get the sense that this is the kind of movie that James himself would appreciate and because it's very evident they put a lot of work into it. There's I don't want to blow anything, but there's really not much to blow, to be honest. But there is a giant monster attacking a city, and that's just cool. That's not easy to do, and they did it. They didn't just CG it, they made it, and it physically destroys things, and you know, it's like a Godzilla movie, only it's quick, and it does, so that's super cool. But yeah, it's just, there's no funniness, way too many cliches and tropes, and you know, the kind of like cutesy meta writing, like, oh, we've got to go and do that because that's what the plot calls for, you know, that kind of stuff. The only other thing I can think about, that I can think of that's kind of similar is that guy with the glasses, Nostalgia Critics, kind of, they do these yearly like crossover events with all the different reviewers, and you know, kick-assia about like starting your own country, and then there was one about like kind of LARPing, and then there was a sci-fi one. Same kind of thing, really awkward, like really clearly not motion picture film. It just, it doesn't work in that medium. These are like videos that, you know, you watch a lot of them, you leave them on in the background, you chuckle now and then. It's not something you'd really want to sit in a theater seat surrounded by people and watch. And I mean, that's the whole problem of adapting something like this. But yeah, the Angry Video Game movie did very poorly at it. I mean, if it was if it was just like a 2-hour long review, I would have liked it at least, just if it was in character and it was well done. I mean, the Action 52 review was amazing, phenomenal. I watch it all the time, and you know, if you put that together, Action 52 with Cheetah Man and Cheetah Man 2, I think it would probably total about the length of a movie. So I would rather have that and, you know, spare all those expenses. But you know, this is something that you know, the guy James Rolfe himself like really wanted to do. So cool, you know, that's great. It just, as an experiment though, I would say stick to what you're good at, or you know, just something's got to be different. You want somebody to write for you, maybe in a medium that you're not familiar with. And boy, yeah, it was, God, I hate to say it because I'm such a big fan, but I just have to be honest. It was it's awkward and clumsy and really hard to get behind, and it focuses on these kind of new characters that have been introduced. So you know, there's like there's his friend who's kind of like even more of a nerd, and he has his own review show, and it's not successful, so he's even more of a nerd, and he looks up to the Angry Video Game Nerd. Well, why did they, like, why? Like, Mike Matei, right? He appears in the movie for like 2 seconds. He's the guy you want to be that guy, because we know him, and that's kind of the role that he plays, is kind of like, you know, the right-hand man to Angry Video Game Nerd. And I think he's, you know, he's funny. I wouldn't trust him to write the content, but he's a hilarious dude. So yeah, not enough of the kind of the regulars. There's all this new cast of people who can really act, but they just aren't established, and you know, people aren't gonna love them. They're really bland. They're really basic characters. Just basically, you know, the guy who looks up to AVGN, and then the girl, the love interest, who is just like very bad writing. Just not a human being. She's just cute. Very cute, and of course she gets in a big cat fight with this other chick who's just introduced for the sake of there being a cat fight, and it's not even a sexy cat fight. It's just kind of like they wrote that in there thinking it would be sexy, and then it just ended up being kind of like two girls like trading blows, and it's like boring, and then it ends, and you know, and it's really telling because I don't want to spoil too much, but like at the end of the movie, it's like basically the AVGN just passes off the love interest to the other guy, the other reviewer, like his friend, and you're just like, you don't care. You didn't really want him to get the girl, and it wasn't really established that she was a love interest of anyone necessarily, other than just the mere fact that she existed and she was cute and she didn't really have any other function. So yeah, it's like, if you can pass off the love interest to another character and nobody cares, that's a bad love interest, let alone female character. You know, like, you got to be a good love interest first, then write like a solid female character. Yeah, so little things like that just the whole way through. Lots of superfluous characters and kind of time wasty things. And you know, the whole point of the movie was about the E.T. Atari game thing, and you know, you will get your E.T. review out of it, but it's not even a good like AVGN review. I don't know why. But it's not on par with like anything else that he's done. So yeah, I feel really bad saying it, and I hope I'm such a non-entity on the internet that like James himself never sees this video, because I really want to get behind everything he does. I'm a big fan, and he makes me laugh, and he's an awesome, and I love his Monster Madness series and his board games, like everything he's done. I've watched it, I've loved it for a long time, and it's not like I had high hopes about the movie, and he's been very clear throughout the entire production in his kind of blog updates, like, this might not be what people expect, he's doing his best, and I believe that, and he had a child throughout this process, and there's a lot of other kind of private stuff he doesn't like to share necessarily with his fans, and I think his fans respect that, but so the effort's there, it just isn't good, and I feel terrible about that. I'm looking forward to him getting back into making the videos that are wildly successful, and it's just kind of a funny thing, really what the guy wants to do, it seems like, is to be like John Carpenter or something, like a producer of movies with like lots of